You've never questioned who I am or why I am who I am. To be honest, I think it's going to be a very long ride. But guess what? I am in for it. Because I'll always be by the sideline cheering for you, and I'll always be the loudest voice in the room. You'll be great, and I'll be there. To my best friend, my paddy, my surest paddy, and the creepiest paddy, Koyin Salah.
Oh my God. You guys, if you watched the Aquafina task, tell me you shed a tear, just a tad bit of tears. Tell me. If you not cry for this thing, you get strong hearts. Like if they knock your heart now, now you go to hear.
You said you only wanted to help 4 people, and it felt so good to be among them. Our room actually feels so empty without you.
And that got me really emotional. And I began to think of my parents. I never knew I would have someone in this house who cared for me so much. We prayed together all the time.
Every single year since the Aquafina started this their purest party of life task, we always cry after the task. And to be fair, it's because we've seen these housemates grow in friendship, grow in relationship, and just share bonds that we as viewers we can tell how pure they are, how true they are, and just all the good stuff. So tonight was quite interesting because we had a lot of people share about their parties of life. There are quite a number of them that stood out for me, like when Isabella was sharing, when Coin was sharing about DEDD, when Kola was talking about IMISI, just all these things. I just got to see these housemates and how they got to express themselves in different levels. I'm just going to go through the list and how these people did. There are some people that went aura for aura, call my name and no call your name. They went oha for oha, egusi for egusi, afang for afang. The aura for aura was a lot. Like, talk about me and not talk about you. But yes, let me just run you through how the housemates picked. So Big Brother said they're going to talk about one housemate that has left the show. Then the second housemate should be in the house. Then Big Brother provided one necklace and one bracelet, one for your surest party, which is the necklace, and then the bracelet for someone who you want to connect with and spend more time with in the house. So yes, that was how they did. The first person that went to speak was Cultural. He spoke about Jason and how Jason is his purest and surest party of life. Talk about how Jason J won the first HOH and how him and Jason J they've been sharing secrets and everything. In fact, Culture went ahead to talk about how Jason J beat Rude Boy with 2 minutes and how many seconds. I'm like, come on, calm down. Then he also talked about Tracy, who had left the show, and how she was loyal to him. She was there for him, shared secrets with her, and all those good stuff. Then the next person that came to speak was Sultana. Sultana spoke about Gigi. She talked about how she felt at home with her. She didn't feel like she didn't have someone when she met Gigi. Gigi this, Gigi that. How Gigi was her person. Then the other person she spoke about in the house was Jason J. Apparently, she didn't write anything for Jason J, but she talked about how Jason J is her friend, and she and Jason J they share a bond, all those good stuff. And then at the end of the day, she gifted Isabella the bracelet. Culture gifted Ruboy his bracelet, and then his necklace he gave it to Jason. The next person that came to speak was Kobbor. He spoke about Ivata, the person that has left the house. He spoke about how her boyfriend who got her pregnant was not in the child's life, and how she had to raise her child as a single mother. And for him too, that's the type of person he is, because he was also raised by a single mother. So they shared a bond. He spoke about that. Then he also spoke about Imisi, his party of life, how they've been friends, they've had misunderstandings. Well, that's what friends do. Imisi is very kind, is very this, is very that. And Imisi was just blushing. Oh my God, Imisi was just so happy. I'm sure that she couldn't believe how much Capable liked her like that. But yeah, he spoke about her. And at the end of the day, the person that he said he wants to get to know and be friends with, that he gave the bracelet, was Kola. Next person that came to speak was Isabella. And this was when it started getting emotional. I know that Isabella in this period, she has been to herself a lot. In fact, we see her sleeping during the day a lot in the past 2 days. And I believe that is because of the whole falling out that she has had, and she has not been able to really express herself, like fight back. Because in her speech, she was talking about how Sultana is teaching her to, you know, take things in, not react to things, and I feel like that has also contributed to all the emotions that she poured out today. The first person she spoke about was Ivata. She talked about how Ivata shared the same bond with her, first of all, as a mother of a teenager, and also just how when she goes out of the house, she hopes that Ivata has gone to spend time with her girl, and just how she has told Ivata that she's going to pay her check to come and play at her 30th birthday when they leave the house, and she spoke a lot about Ivata. And when she was speaking, Kobbor just started crying. Isabella also was crying, and I just felt like there's more to this, and I love it for them. Then the next person she spoke about was Sultana. She talked about how she had poured pepper on Sultana and the outburst the last time, and she apologized for that. She also talked about how she called Sultana the snail, and just all the cute stuff, and how their friendship is. And she told Sultana that they're going to have a lot of trips together, and that everything that Sultana had said about her previously, wahala, they were not friends before and they've had misunderstandings, but yes, all those are in the past now. Whatever anybody thinks, that's on them. But she really enjoys the friendship that they share, and it was just really, really beautiful. It was such a beautiful moment. In my opinion, I think she did really well. So Isabella should be the person to maybe win. I don't know, but we're going to tell. At the end of the day, Isabella gave a necklace to Sultana, and then the bracelet she gave it to IMISI. Of course, they hugged it out. Then the next person that came to speak was Jason J. Jason J. First, he went ahead to say, "Oh, these people are very important to him in the house." He mentioned Joanna, mentioned Rude Boy, mentioned DEDD. And when he was mentioning DEDD was like, are you sure? Why are you mentioning my name? Like, come on. But yeah, he mentioned DEDD, and then he mentioned culture, of course. The person he spoke about that has left the house was Doris. He said Doris is his surest party of life. And then the person in the house, of course, that he mentioned was Sultana, how they have a special friendship. She cares for him, sees on his face when things are not right with him, and all that. And at the end of the day, he gave Sultana his necklace and culture his bracelet. Next person that came to speak was Midday. Midday spoke about Doris so much. He talked about how she's really excited to always share the stage with Doris. Doris always gives compliments. Doris is well articulated. Doris communicates well. She's the queen of props. She's a fantastic actress. Said a lot for Doris. And then she told her that, "I hope you are eating beans so that you are going to grow taller." And she said she misses her little self in the house. Then she spoke about Bright. Of course, Bright is our safe space. Midday, midday, midday. She said Bright is her best friend and all those good stuff. Then she went ahead to mention DEDD, Telma, Joanna, and Kola as part of people that she has bonded with in the house. But then she ended up giving her bracelet to DEDD and then her necklace to Bright. Next person that came to speak was Koyin. Koyin spoke about Big Soso, and it referenced the whole fish incident. And when he started speaking about Big Soso, I'm like, after your best friend quarrel with Big Soso, now Big Soso name you they can't talk about for you. But it was quite understanding. He spoke about how she's like a mother figure to him. She had always looked out for him, and even when the whole fish thing happened, she took it upon herself to fight because of him. She fought for him when he was there and when he wasn't there, and he really appreciates her for that. He also spoke about how she's very spiritual, and that also made them really, really close. Then he went ahead to speak about his best friend DEDD. He said a lot of things about her, how she helps him with his speech, his H factor, how she compliments him, how both of them, they talk a lot together, they share this bond, and yeah, it was so beautiful to see. And at the end of the day, he gave his necklace to DEDD and then his bracelet to Mensan. After Koyin, next person person that spoke was Telma Lawson. She spoke a lot about Sabrina, her international party of life, how Sabrina is fashionable, well spoken, how her dresses matches her earrings, well traveled, spoke a lot about Sabrina. And then the next person she spoke about was Joanna in the house. Joanna has a great communication skill. Joanna is very warm. When people were criticizing her earlier today, Joanna still came to her and spoke to her with love, and just how Joanna has been her person in the house. And she gave Joanna her necklace and ended up giving Kobbor her bracelet. And she said she's giving Kobbor the bracelet because they have had one fight, and this is her way of saying sorry because Kobbor is actually her friend. Then the next person that came to speak was Bright Morgan. He talked about Gigi Jasmine being his friend. She will always wash his clothes for him. He had shared some secrets with her that he didn't see or hear anywhere, that Gigi Jasmine is a safe space and he really, really misses her and all that. Then, of course, he spoke about Midday. He said Midday is everything, the purest, the freshest, the crispiest, the naturest, the refreshing. I even Midday said they do, hey, let me get all these praise. But it was so nice to see. Said all the good stuff about Midday, and at the end of the day, he gave Midday his necklace and gave Kola his wristband. Next person that came to speak was IMISI. IMISI spoke about Big Soso, said Big Soso is genuine, she's well traveled, she has this sweet vibe, and she has great vocabulary, and she's like a sister to her, and that she misses her. Then she went ahead to speak about Kola, that Kola is her person, he's there for her when she's sad, when she's happy, they are both together, he's fresh, he's fashionable, all the good stuff IMISI had to say about Kola. And then she gave Kola the necklace and gave Kobbor, her friend, the bracelet. Then the next person that came to speak was Mensan. We all know that Mensan's real G is Damboskid, so he mentioned Damboskid. He talked about how Damboskid doesn't judge. When the rest of the house were really against him, they didn't really understand him then. Damboskid was the one that had his back. They bonded really, really well. Then he also talked about Big Soso, how Big Soso would take care of him and all that. Then the party of life that he mentioned was Faith. He said Faith is brilliant, Faith is actually nice, Faith is kind. And at the end of the day, he gave Faith his necklace and gave Koyin his wristband. Next person that came to speak was Joanna. Joanna spoke about Victory. Victory is the friend that she didn't know that she needed. She said he provides everything for her even before she knew that she needed it. Victory has provided for her. She also talked about how Victory was her person in the house and she misses him. Then she went ahead to talk about Faith, how Faith will care for her. He will come and ask her, oh, tell me about your day, how he will take it upon himself to buy her ice cream, even though it was with his money. He's caring, everything. And at the end of the day, she gave Faith her necklace and gave Telma Lawson her wristband. And at this point, I'm like, okay, what happens to Dede now? I thought she was going to give Dede her wristband because she and Dede, I think they are closer than Joanna and Telma, but who am I to judge? You tell me what you think about this in the comment. Then moving on, the next person that came to speak was Ruboy. Ruboy spoke about Denari. He was talking about how Denari will go to his locker, carry his body spray and just spray it, and he will see him and say, this thing, it belongs to all of us. Denari is a cool guy and he misses him. And then he went ahead to talk about Zita, how Zita and him, they built a friendship, how she picked him, he returned the favor, and how since that moment until now, they've been, fighting and reconciling. But then Zita is actually his buddy of life. And then he ended up giving Zita the necklace and gave Jason J his wristband. And I'm like, okay, you didn't give culture. What happens to that? Your brotherly love and friendship. Dede spoke about Ibi Fubara. She said she calls Ibi Fubara her wife. Ibi Fubara is such a textbook. Ibi Fubara is very brilliant. She has brains. And she talked about how Ibi Fubara will always give her hugs, even times that she didn't think that she needed hugs. Ibi Fubara will give her hugs. And after this, she now went ahead to mention the rest of her friends. She said Joanna, Midday, and then Koyin. She just said things briefly about Joanna and Midday, but then she said she saves the best for last, who happens to be Koyin Sola. She will always call Koyin his full name. So she said Koyin Sola is her friend, went ahead to say they have a type of friendship that the housemates cannot relate to, because everybody in the house keeps saying Koyin is actually quiet, but to her she's like, can you shut up sometimes? That's how, because Koyin and her, they talk a lot. She talked about how he cares for her. Anytime she goes close to milk, he will remind her how she's lactose intolerant. If she wants to eat spicy food, he will remind her that you have ulcer. He will make her food, all those good stuff and all the moments that they shared. In fact, Dede's speech was so long for Koyin. I'm like, oh, that was so beautiful to see, because at some point I was like, well, did they speak about Joanna or she's going to speak about Koyin? It's just how dicey this whole thing is, especially because Kola is in the mix. And I'm just like, but then when she spoke about Koyin, I was like, okay, Oha for Oha, Egusi for Egusi, Afang for Afang. But yes, they went aura for aura, and that was beautiful to see. Next person that came to speak was Kola. Kola spoke about Sabrina. We all know how he feels about Sabrina. Talked about how they bonded when they found out that they were both living in Canada, and they discovered that they were even not living far from each other, that they bonded on different levels, their fashion sense and all that. He said he will always call her Sabi girl. Then he also spoke about IMISI. He talked about how they bonded through music, and he said that song was when him and his family were going through something, and when IMISI sang that song, it just reminded him about what his family was going through, and how IMISI is close to God, and just how him and IMISI, IMISI has always taken care of him. She will cook for him, they will pray together. And of course, when he was talking, he got emotional, started crying. IMISI self was crying, both of them were just crying. Anyways, we know how these two people feel about each other, so it wasn't much of a surprise. Then at the end of the day, he mentioned some people in the house who happens to be his friend, and he obviously didn't mention Dede's name, and I'm sure he deliberately skipped it, because immediately after the show, him and Zita, they went to the HOH lounge and they were talking, and he said he wrote other people's names, so but the fact that they didn't say his name, he went aura for aura. So yes, that was why he didn't mention Dede's name, because Dede didn't mention his name. In fact, when Dede was rounding up her speech for Koyin, she mistakenly said, oh, the necklace is for Kola, and she doesn't, no, sorry, Koyin. And I feel like that really got to Kola, because like but I see them speaking now. The next person that came to speak was Faith, and as soon as Faith got to stage, he just carried the bracelet and the necklace. He gave one to Joanna. He said 4 minutes is too short for him to talk about Joanna, so he's giving her the bracelet, and then he took the chain and gave to Culture, and he went on stage and he spoke so much about Culture, how Culture lived under the bridge, how Culture was he used to arrange bottles and sell because he needs 1.5 to eat. He said all those things, and I'm just like, that's private conversation. If he wanted to make it a public conversation, he probably would have said it out loud to the rest of the housemates. But well, I know that he wasn't coming from a bad place, so yeah, it's good and fine. He said a lot about Culture, and then he gave Culture the necklace, and then he spoke about Ortega as well, how Ortega is very nurturing, how he will cook food, and food is like art. Ortega is well traveled. Ortega taught him a word called groit, and how intelligent Ortega is. And yeah, that was how he rounded up his own speech. And he didn't write anything, no, he just talked from his mouth. Next person that came to speak was Zita. Zita, of course, spoke about Ruboy, and how Ruboy had asked her hours before this task if he is her friend, and she said she was going to answer him in this particular presentation by calling him her friend, and how she knows that they started the friendship in a selfish way, because she just looked around the arena and like, who can help me manpower handle the house, and she saw it was Ruboy, and that was how they started. But they've fought, settled, and now they are actually friends. Then of course the person she spoke about was Dambo's kid, how Dambo's kid washes her clothes, because when he left she couldn't even navigate the washing machine. That's because she didn't need to, because Damboski did that for her. How he helped her when she was really really cold. He didn't just say sorry and pass. And the Barbie box during the wager task. He also helped her finish it up. You know how he has been there for her and how she cannot wait to go out and meet him. So yes, that was so beautiful to see. I don't know who the winner is yet, but I just thought to bring this video to you. When the winner is out, I'm going to probably post it on my community, so you're gonna see it. Thank you so much for coming this far. This video was quite long. If you came here, please drop the purple love. You need to do that because it is important to me to know that somebody came to this point. I love you so much, and until next time, I'm going to see you on the next one. Bye bye.